Happy morning, children. Now, I'm just an ordinary guy named Charlie. So we find him for the first time. We find the protagonist. He introduces himself. He says that my name is Charlie and I am 31 years old. And I was wearing a tan gabardine suit and a straw hat with a fancy band. So he describes himself on that particular day when he was returning home. He had opted for the subway, for the underground railway. He was wearing a tan gabardine. Gabardine is a material. He was wearing a suit made up of gabardine material and he was putting on a straw hat with a fancy band. I passed a dozen men who looked just like me. So see how he is showing the reality to us. He says that I passed about a dozen people, dozen men, and all of them, they looked like me only. They were dressed up like me, they looked like me only. And I wasn't trying to escape from anything. Again, he wants to assert this, that he was not trying, he was absolutely normal and he was not trying to escape from anything. I just wanted to get home to Louisa, my wife. My only reason why I had opted for the subway was that I wanted to reach my apartment soon. I just wanted to get home to my wife, Louisa. I turned into Grand Central. Now, Grand Central is the metro terminal at Manhattan in New York. And some data, children, that I want to give. First of all, Grand Central, it opened in 1930 and it serves more than 67 million passengers in 1 year. And you know, in one train arrives at the terminal at every 58 seconds. So you can imagine that what a dense network it must be of railways and how busy a subway it is. So Grand Central, as I said, it is very busy. Yeah, I turned into Grand Central from Vanderbilt Avenue and went down the steps to the first level. Everything was normal. He entered the subway and he went down first to the first level where you take trains like the 20th century. So from there you get trains as you get in the 20th century. Don't forget that Charlie belonged to the 20th century. Then I walked down another flight to the second level. After reaching the first level, actually in order to go to his place where he resided, he had to get the train from the second level. So we find him climbing down the stairs. Another flight he had to take and go down to the second level where the suburban trains leave from where the passenger trains they would leave. He ducked into an arched doorway heading for the subway and got lost. He bent into an arched doorway and what happened? Which headed to the subway, and he found that he was lost. He had lost his way. That's easy to do. Now, nothing was amazing, staggering in this also. Losing way in Grand Central subway was quite normal. I told you it is a network of exits and entries. And it is quite obvious that people who frequent the place so very often also, they tend to forget the way. So it was quite normal. I have been in and out of Grand Central hundreds of times. Charlie also, he says the same. He says that hundreds of times I have been to this place, in and out, entry and exit I have done from here. But I am always bumping into new doorways and stairs and corridors. He says whenever I go to the Grand Central, I always I always come across, I always run into some new entries, new doorways, new stairs and new corridors. Once I got into a tunnel about a mile long and came out in the lobby of the Roosevelt Hotel. So Charlie shares with us his experience. He says that once he had entered into a tunnel which was about a mile long, and when he came out, he was in the lobby of Roosevelt Hotel. He gives us another example, another experience he shares. He says, another time I came up in an office building on the 46th Street, 3 blocks away. So another time when he got lost, he happened to come up in an office building which was in the 46th Street. Sometimes I think Grand Central is growing like a tree, pushing out new corridors and staircases like roots. Now see, he finds the station, the Grand Central, like a huge tree which goes on, which keeps on spreading its roots and branches all over. So you find that Grand Central is expanding in a very fast way. That is what he implies. There's probably a long tunnel that nobody knows about, feeling its way under the city right now, on its way to Times Square and maybe another to Central Park. So he says that, as you know, the metros, how it happens, you have underground railway, and at the top you will find the busy city, the hustle and bustle of the city. So he says that there's probably a long tunnel. Why he says probably? He's talking about a secret tunnel. So he says there's probably a secret tunnel, okay, that nobody knows about, feeling its way under the city, which is there under the city, on its way to, and where is it leading to? It leads to Times Square and maybe another to Central Park. All these are places in Manhattan. And maybe because for so many people through the years, Grand Central has been an exit, a way of escape. So people in New York, it is quite obvious that how busy New York and Manhattan must be. And so people, in order to exit, literally they opt for Grand Central in order to go from one place to the other. See, has been an exit, a way of escape. Maybe that's how the tunnel I got into. So somewhere or the other, that escape word, see the way escaping is coming. Either you escape in reality to go to reach a place, from one place to the other as fast as you can, or here it implies that Charlie really wanted to escape. Escape from what? See, but I never told my psychiatrist friend about that idea. So this idea of opting for the Grand Central to escape, this idea was not disclosed. He was having this idea in his mind, but he didn't tell his psychiatrist friend about that he had opted for the Grand Central. He had got into the tunnel in order to escape. The corridor I was in began angling left and slanting downward, and I thought that was wrong. So he had lost his way. He was inside a tunnel, inside a corridor, and we get the description that first that corridor, it was angling left, it was bending left, then it slanted downward, and somewhere or the other he was getting the feeling that he had lost his way. See, I thought that was wrong, but I kept on walking. He knew, he could see that he had lost his way, but he didn't stop walking. He carried on. All I could hear was the empty sound of my own footsteps, and I didn't pass a soul. And it was, I told you, I've already given the description that how crowded the place is, how busy the place is, but still he couldn't see a single passerby. And the only noise, only sound that could be heard by him was that of his own footsteps. Then I heard that sort of hollow roar ahead. That means open space and people talking. And when you are about to come out of the tunnel, and that roar, the echo sound that can be heard in the hollow, that kind of sound was being heard by him, and he could hear people talking also. The tunnel turned sharp left. I went down a short flight of stairs and came out on the 3rd level at Grand Central Station. So we find that the tunnel, it had a sharp turning towards the left, and there was a short flight of stairs. He comes down and he finds himself in the third level at Grand Central Station. For just a moment I thought I was back on the second level. For a moment, for a flash, for a moment, for the flash of a second, this idea came to his mind that no, I have come to the second level. But then there were so many things pointing out, telling him that no, it is not the second level, but it is the third level. But see, that but again comes in between. But I saw the room was smaller. Now what were the differences between the third level and the second level? In the third level, the room was smaller. There were fewer ticket windows and train gates. So the ticket windows were fewer in number and the train gates were also few. And the information booth in the center was wood and old looking. Information booth, the inquiry counter, that was the booth was in the center and it was made up of wood and it was old looking as it used to be in the 1890s. In the 19th century they were old looking, and the man in the booth wore a green eye shade and long black sleeve protectors, and the man who was sitting in the inquiry booth, he was also dressed in an old-fashioned manner. He was wearing a green eye shade, that is a visor, maybe something to protect from the light, from the strong light, and he was wearing black sleeve protectors. The lights were dim and sort of flickering, and he also noticed another thing inside the booth. The inquiry booth light was there, but the light was very dim. Now what was the reason? And it was flickering also. It was not constant. Then I saw why. Then he saw the reason why it was dim and why was it flickering. They were open flame gas lights. They were not electric lights. They were open flame gas lights. Yes, children. Now today I stop over here. Tomorrow again we'll continue. Have a nice day.